So your alternative hypothesis is finding, and he's right, that the abstract of that study confirms that Kraut's interpretation is wrong. Kraut, you misunderstand the principle of margins of errors. I've seen dozens of comments on the internet of people who
That's
understand
not the
it,
point
and
we're
remind
making.
you, hey Kraut, Jeff is right, and alternative hypothesis is right. When you claimed that the effects were within the margin of error, you showed that you don't understand margin of errors and that you don't understand this study. They were beyond the margin of error, Kraut.
What was the point you were making?
And the fact that you are...
I'm currently a bit on ice, I can't remember.
The point, I believe, was, let's see now. The point was, trying to remember the specific study here. Yeah, no, this was the one where, yeah, this is a genome-wide study, that's it. And basically, the point that Kraut is going to make here, that he's going to show soon, is that study is entirely just mathematical. They didn't actually go in and do any molecular genetics, which is the point. This is not proof of anything.
That the findings they made were within the margin of error. This is what you explained to me, that the results were the equivalent to 1 month of schooling, the IQ difference that they believe.
According to the paper itself, by the way.
Yeah, and that is...
Well, 2 papers, actually. It's 2 papers, yeah.
The paper says it's in the margins of error?
Yes. No. Listen. The 2 papers, it's 2 papers, actually. One original paper and a follow-up paper. And in both papers, they say themselves, the result is equivalent to about 1 month of schooling, or 2%. Now, the thing is, when you have such a small result, you have to conclude that's within the margin of error because it's so small.
Yeah, but it depends on the error you would expect.
Listen. It doesn't matter what your mathematical calculations show, because if you have a result that's that small, it is too insignificant to say anything which is of any determining factor. And not only that, the main point itself, though, is, and this is a greater point, this is a genome-wide study, meaning that it can only find candidate genes.
Okay,
and it still doesn't support what they're claiming it supports.
I think you should still let Ergen say what you had to...
Oh yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean... Ergen, you wanted to say something to counter against that, to speak against that. And I think you should. Like, every single... We can't just... Whenever there's a disagreement on something, we have to very carefully listen to both sides.
Well, no shit. Go ahead, Ergen.
Give me a second. I'm up for more than 25 hours, so my brain doesn't...
Oh. Are you sure you want to be in here?
I can't fall asleep. I tried, so...
Okay.
Is a big picture approach completely pointless?
Yeah.
Because that's all I would do.
No, now I remember. My point was, small is relative to your experiment. It's depending on of course, how many samples you have, and on just on the scale of your probe.
I think the sample was 141,000 people.
Yeah, that was the stuff I was arguing with Sandre about. When your sample size is large enough, your difference can be very small, and statistics will iron that out, and your statistical tests to prove it.
Yeah, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. We went through these papers with Jejone, and Jejone was very clear about this.
Yeah, okay.
When
you're doing an appeal to
No, I'm not. And here's another greater point when it comes to this. Okay, now there's a common issue when it comes to this, and that is an unwillingness. It doesn't really matter what field you look at. There's an unwillingness whenever you have a process that is, and this is something I usually notice when you have something that's based entirely on mathematics, which these 2 papers are. May I remind you, no molecular genetics is found in these papers. This is all just genome-wide studies that are inherently very diffuse. Okay?
Statistics.
Now, and I have to agree with Sandra.
There is
statistics.
Yeah, yep. It's all just statistics, and I'm sorry, but if your result is something as small as 1 month of schooling, how do you even... Let me ask another question, just to show how ridiculous this is. How do you even define 1 month of schooling at that point?
They did it somehow, and they felt it's important enough to publish it.
Yeah, no, we've looked at the math, okay, but that's the problem. That's all it is to begin with. It's math, and it's
precision and accuracy, man.
And in all statistics, there is always an error of margin.
I just remembered